All right, let's see what's up. What the freak? Nice. Nice, nice. Okay. Nice. Okay. Nice. Okay. Okay, okay, okay. Shit. Okay. Oh my god. Oh my god, please. Okay, please. Stop. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna figure out this TikTok thing later. How's that? I'm gonna figure out this later. That's what I'm gonna do. And I'm just gonna focus on what I got going on. That seems good to me. Okay. Close this. Bang. All right. All right, yo, what's good, gamers? What's good? My name is Dr. Ryan Charles Psych Sensei. Welcome to the stream, baby. Today we are talking about mindfulness or gaming and mindfulness, and does mindfulness actually help you do better in gaming? That's what we're talking about today. Let me, real quick, make this Twitter post so our people can know what's up. And I guess we're going to continue to hopefully hold the Twitch stream flowing. But as always, my friends, this stream is for all of y'all. And so if there's any esports psychology questions that you are wondering or you want to talk about, let me know. Mindfulness and gaming performance. Bang. All right. It's interesting that it's on YouTube in the multi-stream and it doesn't say, what's your face? TikTok, Twitch. But hey, if you would be. Also, if anyone knows anybody at Discord support, please let me know. I need my Discord back, and I still don't have it, and it's very, very sad. But hope everyone's doing well. Happy Friday. I wish we could play some games today, but I don't think I have time, so maybe I'll play it later on tonight, and we'll figure it out. Let's see my schedule today. Yeah, maybe. We'll figure it out. I do want to play some games. I haven't played in a little bit. And my life is going to change pretty soon where I'm not going to be able to play some games. So, but yeah. All right, let's jump into it, shall we, my friends? Let's have some fun. All right. I want to... Can I make... Boom. That looks better. That looks better. All right. Okay, today's article is entitled Mindful Gaming, How Digital Games Can Improve Mindfulness. And I'm going to do my best. This is by Silwinski, Katsikitis, and Jones. Smash that. Smashed it. All right. All right, let's kick it, man. I'm kind of interested in this because mindfulness is important. So is games. Very important. Can they improve? Let's find out. Yo, what's good, Grims? What are we doing? Fine? Shout out, shout out. All right. Oh, I didn't do the thing. I didn't do the thing. Let's do it right now. I got to send a copy. Notability. Great app. Great app. And now we are here. Perfect. Okay. Ah, that's why. It wasn't even the right place. Okay. All right. Consistency streaming. We're doing good, boys. We're doing good. All right. Mindfulness is growing in popularity as attention and emotion regulation. Oh, sorry. Mindfulness is growing in popularity as attention and emotion regulation training and as a subject for scientific research. Numerous studies have demonstrated the positive impact of mindfulness on psychological well-being, with mindfulness meditation the traditional and predominant mindfulness practice. Mindfulness meditation. Key. Because the reason why I want to say like mindfulness meditation is because like mindfulness means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Some people can like mean mindfulness as in like how present and mindful are you in the game versus like the actual practice of being mindful and training your attention and stuff. Yo, Akir, what's up? Thanks for the follow, baby. Woo! Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. Hang out. Let me know if you got any psychology questions too, and make sure you get your little running guy on the thing. All right. Meditation, we love a good definition. Refers to techniques that self-regulate body and mind, which is predominantly achieved by conscious sitting, during which the core skill of systematic development of attention and non-reactive observing of experience are trained. Yes. So I think like people think about mindfulness as like like this like thinking thing, but really it's just like sitting down in a quiet place and like observing your thoughts, no judgment, and seeing where they go. Like that's all mindfulness is. And people like say focus on your breathing because it's easy to focus on that because it's a rhythmic thing. You're doing it. It's pretty unconscious. And also if you're focusing on your breathing, typically you're not focused on all the thoughts that are bouncing around your head. You know what I mean? Okay. As simple as this may sound, meditation is difficult to learn and practice for beginners. Absolutely. Have you ever tried to sit down with your thoughts and like actually do the mindfulness training? And if you're like me, you're like, oh, it's so boring. I don't like it. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. Like, can you sit through the mundane and then focus on this small thing? Because in your games, there's so many different things going on. Can you focus on one thing at a time? And how often in your game do you actually practice focusing on one thing at a time versus like, I don't know, where the jungler is, what F key do I push, like where's my wave? Like, if we can actually break down smaller skills, it's outside of the game, it's gonna be easier to practice those smaller skills in the game. Mindfulness is just a more controlled place to practice them. I love that. As simple as it sounds, bro. Especially if you got ADHD like me. As simple as it sounds. Yeah, just do it. Just do the opposite. It's so simple, you know? It's not. It is freaking not. All right. Okay. Challenges include physical discomfort, back pain, inability to concentrate, and unpleasant side effects like tiredness and boredom. Word. These challenges make meditation difficult for most beginners, describing regular practice and even being the cause to cease meditation completely. Word. Have you ever said this? I'm tired. I'm bored. It's hard. I hurt. Yeah, it's rough. At the same time, it is a piece of training, if you want to think of it like that. You know what I mean? Okay, mindful meditation has been developed in the absence of modern technology, and there is so far little scientific exploration of innovative solutions to develop a technology-based mindfulness training that overcomes beginner challenges. Absolutely. That's why I love my core device. It's amazing. If anything, get something that like vibrates in your hand to help you regulate your breathing or help you focus on that, I would suggest that. Um, This study focuses on exploring how technology and in particular digital games can be used to develop an engaging mindfulness practice. Applying the concept of into modern technology, uh, mindfulness into a modern technological context, and to translate it into a beginner-friendly form of mindfulness practice fills a significant research gap between mindfulness research and human-computer interaction. Hell yeah, if there's any way that we can make mindfulness more fun or more engaging for beginners, because I wouldn't say that the barrier of mindfulness is really big because you can do it all the time, but the physical ability to keep your mind focused or like make that beginning process of sitting down and doing it easier, yes, I like that. All right, digital games provide a promising technology for the research of mindfulness because the interactive nature of games allows the development of experiential knowledge, at which mindfulness is cultivated. Games can be so engaging that they make their players forget about time and create an absorbing interaction, which is why gaming has been described as a meditative practice itself. I agree. I agree. But here's the thing. I think mindfulness only becomes a meditative practice in itself when you are focused and present in what you're doing. And if that's the purpose of what you're trying to do, like I'm trying to get engrossed into this game. I think a piece of mindfulness too is like if you are unable to really state what you want to get out of the mindful experience or what the purpose of the mindfulness experience is, it's harder to be mindful and present in it because the purpose isn't that. For example, if your purpose of your game is to like not be here or like to just like fill your time or like to like make you happy or take you away from like distract you from other things, then you might not be then it might not be a meditative practice because the purpose is to escape. Versus, okay, the purpose of why I'm playing games is to be focused and present and like be intentional in what I'm doing. These qualities are parallel to those of mindfulness meditation, facilitating deep concentration. However, games are generally seen as a fun medium that do not require much persuasion to be used. Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard for most people, like, I'm gonna sit down and then I'm gonna, like, meditate versus, like, okay, I'm gonna play this game and be very present in the playing of the game. Alright. While meditation is sometimes perceived as a daunting task. Yup. I think most people would be like, oh my god, it's time to meditate. It's time to be, like, be mindful. It's so cringe. It's a chore versus, like, I'd rather play my game. But in that way, if you think about it, what does work for you? You know, because for some people, work could be playing a lot of games or playing solo queue because like that's really hard to like sit through the game and like focus and then like deal with all the tilters and stuff like that. For other people, work could be like sitting down and doing the VOD because like they don't want to see their own mistakes, they don't want to go through the process of watching. It's harder for them to analyze the game, you know. Or for some people, work could be the actual mindfulness training. So, what does work for you? What is preventing you from doing the work? And then how could doing the work actually improve your game? I'll write this here. Because the more specific we can be in what the work is, the more likely we are able to do the thing and to get the thing we want out of the work. Or at least we understand why we're doing the work so it's not as aids. You know what I mean? Alright. Here. Games are designed to be motivating, engaging, and entertaining, and furthermore, have the potential to elevate players into a flow state of higher consciousness. I agree. Both mindfulness practice and gaming are often described as a non-striving, effortless effort or doing nothing. I can see where they're going. I mean, effortless effort. I mean, yeah, all right. I see it. I see it, though. I see it, though. Yo, what's up, baby? I see you lurking. I see you lurking. This one's a shout out to you, my friend, for your Twitter questions. All right. A recent study comparing self-reported mindfulness with gaming experience found gamers to be generally more mindful, which supports the potential of digital games as mindfulness practice. Although this study was only correlational, without experimental conditions, it does reflect the potential of this medium. In recent years, more atypical games have been released, which are purely explorative and with no definite goals. Yeah, I mean, this is like scrollers, or this is like, like Fallout, I guess, where it's like MMOs, I'm guessing. This trend can be interpreted as a mirror of the general demand for deeper game experiences and predicts a positive acceptance of a mindfulness game. I can see that. I can see that as like you're exploring or whatever. It's not like a PvP game, maybe. You're just doing your own thing. I can see that as a mindfulness practice. We're engrossed in the thing. For example, maybe for me it was like Pal Worlds, and I just want to like create the best worker, and like get all the items and stuff like that. Maybe it's Arc Raiders, we're the same kind of thing. We're just like getting items and doing your own quests. In the context of training mindfulness, an interactive application provides the ability to externalize some aspects of mindfulness practice and thus decrease a practitioner's cognitive load, which facilitates training by making it less demanding. That's interesting. That is interesting. I've never thought the context of mindfulness and linked it to cognitive load. Let's think about that. I guess if you're more mindful, they're saying it decreases cognitive load because you're holding one thing at a time, I'm guessing, and your attention's not being split everywhere. So per that logic, right? Like if I am in flow, or if I'm being mindful, I'm just thinking of one thing at a time, although it may seem like that is slower, maybe it is smoother. And if I'm thinking at one thing at a time, then maybe I can think of one thing at a time, the next thing, next thing, next thing, which makes it seem faster versus trying to hold a lot of things on my mind at a lot, which takes up a lot of cognitive load. And then maybe if it does that, then I'm like like task switching and thinking about other things versus like one thing at a time and finishing that thought, By doing so, that sounds like it'd be more efficient for thinking and processing information. I see that. I see that. Furthermore, digital games can provide clear instructions and multi-sensor feedback, which can be essential in guiding the use. Furthermore, digital games provide a clear instruction and multi-sensor feedback, which can be essential in guiding the user to practice mindfulness independently and with no opportunity to check and correct practice. Okay. This research aims to investigate the relationship between mindfulness and digital games. The research investigates which aspects of mindfulness can be trained by interactive technology, in particular games, and which game elements influence aspects of mindfulness, and how must they be designed to have a positive impact. The feasibility of such an approach is supported by the acceptance of games as a medium of daily use and the general view that games are fun. On average, people are using their mobile device for 3.6 hours per day, spending most time engaged with applications, of which the majority are gamers. I think that's what people don't understand, is that like if you play Bejeweled, if you play like Clash Royale, like Clash of Clans, like dude, you're a gamer. Like any of these things, or Pokemon Go, like you're a gamer. Like games are everywhere. It's just people don't acknowledge the games that they're playing. Or even like if you even play like the association games from like the New York Times, you're a gamer. Or Sudoku, listen, you're a gamer. You're just a different type of gamer. I had this lawyer call me yesterday. He says like, yeah, I play 4 games of chess every day. It's like, yeah, you're a gamer, bro. You're just a different type of gamer. All right. Research study. Defining mindfulness. Important. Contemporary psychology describes mindfulness inconsistently. That's the first problem right there, baby. Suggesting a lack of operational consensus. It has been defined as self-regulatory capacity. Ooh, big words for Elmo. An acceptance skill, yes, and a metacognitive skill. There's a multitude of questionnaires available to measure mindfulness with great conceptual differences. This study uses a recent questionnaire, the Comprehensive Inventory of Mindfulness Experiences, CHIME, nice, by Bergomi et al., developed to unify other available questionnaires and provide a comprehensive measure of mindfulness. 9 aspects of mindfulness were identified that are covered by previous operationalizations of mindfulness. Oh, big word for Elmo. Look at that. Operationalizations. I like that word. Those aspects were assimilated and using factor analysis reduced to 8 factors. The final definition of mindfulness and resulting measures instruments consists of 8 individual mindfulness factors, and we'll go over them, I'm sure. All right. Scan literature and software. This study explores digital games. Excuse me. This study explores digital games and interactive applications with regards to their fit to individual mindfulness aspects based on the CHIME 8-factor mindfulness model. After briefly describing each factor, relevant game and interactive applications are reviewed. Okay. They're going to go. A thorough search was conducted on popular websites, search engines, and app stores with inclusion criteria of at least one mindfulness aspect. The initial search was conducted in October 2014. Man, that seems like a long time ago, but it's like yesterday, bros. Jeez, 2014. Damn, what were we doing in 2014? All right. To identify relevant research studies, the search engines Scopus, Web of Knowledge, and Google Scholar have been searched in terms of mindfulness or meditation, game, or application. Okay, blah, 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 blah. All right. That's boring. That's boring. Okay, so basically, what they're saying is that they researched these terms, and then they identified these different studies, and then they went from there. In conjunction with those 8 things. Okay, now they were just talking about the criteria of which they found the articles. Boring. All right, okay. All right, let's see what they found, huh? All right, results. This is what we came for, baby. This is what we came for. The hard-hitting info. Okay. All right. 3-point. Mindfulness factor 1. Awareness towards inner experiences. This factor encompasses the ability to be aware of one's own experiences, such as thoughts, feelings, and sensations. It can be characterized further as interceptive or body awareness, which is a form of self-awareness, drawing on the ability to direct one's own attention to specific parts of the body, like shortness of breath and tightness of the chest after seeing a big snake in the garden. Lol. No pun intended. The main challenge for the training of this skill within digital games is that most games create external experiences on the screen and do not stimulate the exploration of the player's own mind and body. I mean, the way I kind of would apply this maybe would be like, how aware are you of like your butt in the seat or like your sweat or like your shakiness, you know, or maybe like the physical symptoms of anxiety or pre-game jitters or those kinds of things, you know, or tilt maybe even. Although the game creates a virtual world and is therefore aware of all aspects within it, it is difficult for the game to understand the player's inner thoughts and feelings. Therefore, the question arises whether a game that stimulates present awareness in the virtual world can transfer this ability to the player's inner world. Generally, gamers have been found to outperform non-gamers in tasks relating to executive and sustained attention. However, those were measured by external stimuli, and it remains unclear whether training external attention also trains internal attention and introspective awareness. I mean, sure, I can see where they're going with that, but I mean, this all comes back down to intention. I'm guessing. I'm thinking. All right, training introspective awareness could be achieved by using parts or processes of one's own body in the object of concentration, for example, the breath. The practice of observing the breath, or by observing the sensations caused by the breath, for example, around the nostrils, is also an integral part of teachings in traditional Buddhist meditation, known as, I'm not going to try that one, okay, maybe, Anapasanti? Anapasanti? We're going to go with that. With the goal to sharpen the mind. Okay. Okay. Sharpen the mind, train concentration before confronting own sensations deliberately. One smartphone application that is based on this approach is mindfulness TS. All right, friends, you want an app? Go for it. There you go. Mindfulness TS. Is that a real thing? Let me search this up. Is that for real? For real? Mindfulness TS. All right. Well, not in our, not in the App Store. Maybe it's maybe it's different app, but not here. All right. Unlucky. Which requires the user to tap on the screen when breathing in and out. The mobile application Breathe Daily. Is that real too? Breathe Daily. Also not in the US. Okay, unlucky. Also not in the US. Works similarly in a similar way by instructing the user to hold the finger on the screen while inhaling and releasing while exhaling. Additional visual feedback is provided by gradual change of background color when a finger is touching/releasing the screen. Starting from blue, the background turns into yellow and after that into blue again. Users are recommended to wait until the screen turns to its original blue again until inhaling again, providing guidance for regular breathing. Therefore, users count their breath and slide their finger after each 10th inhalation. The background color then turns into green or red to indicate whether the count is correct and focus was maintained successfully. A report screen at the end of 5 or 10 minute meditation shows the total amount of inhales and the amount of focused key breaths. That's pretty cool. I mean, I think that's a cool way to measure it. Like, are you actively doing it? I like it. But I wonder if that's like they're using their own body sensation. That's what I thought they were going to go for. But, okay. Maybe it's just for mindfulness. Fair. The method of breath counting was recently evaluated in 4 independent studies with positive results. Using a digital breath counting task similar to the apps discussed above. In study 1, counting accuracy was found to be associated with better mood, decreased mind wandering, and increased meta-awareness, and correlated with trait mindfulness. I can see this. Because essentially, instead of using your breath to regulate yourself, now you're using the number or like the slides on the phone to like regulate yourself. And you're focusing on not your thoughts, but like counting and then proving that you're counting accurately with the slides on the phone. Which makes sense. Because I mean, the other way to think about this is like, all right, if you're focused on the counting and the sliding of your finger, guess what you're not thinking about? Anything else, right? But you're just like integrating the counting with your breathing and then tapping. So very simple task. All right, study 2 revealed that the significance of mind wandering and mood did not change after controlling with individual scores obtained from the sustained attention to response task, suggesting that it is not just a result of sustained attention. Ooh, there's more than just attention. I like that. But again, when you think about mindfulness too, you're just practicing attention, and then you're practicing moving your attention around. Like, that's what mindfulness is really trying to do. All right. Also, breath counting accuracy was found to be uncorrelated to working memory capacity as measured by the automated operation span test, supporting the method's independence. Okay, so you're not just talking, like, literally, why this is important is because it's not doing anything else. It's not working on memory or any other skill. It's just working on the presence. Because the reason I think that's important is because if there's other things, like you have to remember stuff, like, okay, remember these 3 words, and then you're doing mindfulness, like you're doing 2 tasks, like looking at the mini map and then trying to CS. Like, there's 2 different tasks. Or like looking at the mini map and then trying to throw util. 2 different tasks. Or even like trying to stream and then be entertaining. 2 different tasks. All right, the third study found counting accuracy to be associated with less attention capture as is measured by momentarily reward task in which participants had to identify/ignore targets with specific colors. You can tell this is a colors. The authors interpreted this result as a reduced influence of wanting representing non-attachment, reduced cravings as a state reflecting higher mindfulness. Okay? The fourth study confirmed the prior results that participants with an improved counting accuracy had also increased mindfulness scores, while 2 comparable controlled groups did not. Interesting. Interesting. Huh. I guess even what I was thinking about is like I think I had like a limited idea of what mindfulness could be versus just breathing. Like, this counting accuracy is another way to measure it, which is really cool. Very, very cool. All right, in contrast to breathing apps that help visualize the process of breathing, the discussed study evaluated the effectiveness of breath counting for mindfulness. The hypothesis that the engagement with the associated internal process of breath counting is necessary for its efficacy was recently rejected. Interesting. In an experimental study, 3 different designs for breathing apps have been tested. An audio-only design was found to be inferior to 2 breathing training programs that visualize the process of breathing on both physiological parameters, deeper breathing, and participants' self-assessment. That's also really interesting. So, in that sense, guided meditation, less effective. And I think the reason why guided meditation might be a little less effective is because the more, like, stimuli that you can engage in mindfulness, I guess, helps guide your mind better. What I mean by that is, like, if you're just doing the guided meditation, you're listening to someone speak, I think it's easier for your mind to wander versus, like, okay, now I'm looking at something or something's vibrating in my hand. Now I'm engaging more pieces of mindfulness or presence into my practice versus I'm just listening. That's kind of, I'm guessing that's the same thing as like reading an audiobook while you're listening to it. You know, like you're engaging your eyes and then hearing it so you can understand versus just trying to listen to the audiobook while you drive. You know? That's what I'm thinking. Okay, where is that? Interesting. The hypothesis, okay, in an experimental study, 3 different designs for breathing apps have been tested. Okay, la la la. Right, audio only. There it is. Audio only was inferior. Huge. There you go. Although mindfulness was not included as a measure, awareness of the breath was included in the questionnaire, and which revealed significant better scores for the designs with breathing visualization. A wave of visualization showing the current state, inhale, exhale, with a temporal detail was found to be superior to circle-based visualizations with 2 stages, red and green, and a textual counter using seconds to indicate change. Okay. Oh, visual wave showing the current state more effective than just colors. Interesting. Okay, this is good. If I want to build a app for gamers, this is what I'm going to do, I think. Which is also kind of my goal. I would love to work with someone to make an app like this. So if you know of anyone that makes apps, let me know. I think it'd be a cool project. Mindfulness for gamers. We would call it mental maxing. Okay, breath counting can be used to increase certain aspects of mindfulness, although the specific relationship with awareness towards the inner experience was not explicitly investigated. Through training their awareness of one's own breath as an inner experience corresponds to training inner awareness in the specific task, and results show decreased mind wandering and increased meta-awareness suggested an increased awareness towards inner experience in general. Okay, I think another thing though, that's going to be really, really important to kind of talk about is that, like, even though being mindful of your physical or somatic experience is really important, I think what may happen that makes it kind of bad is that, like, the interpretation of that experience. For example, like, if you're aware when I'm breathing that I'm like, I feel tenseness in my body, or that my heart's beating really fast, or maybe that I'm sweating. If I am become aware of that and now interpret that or judge it and saying like, oh my gosh, every time this happens, I lose my games, or every time this happens, this is how I know I'm anxious. I think that might mess up the mindfulness versus just noticing the feeling or noticing your response, acknowledging it, and then moving on from it. You know, maybe not focusing on it, or maybe not like interpreting it to be something else versus just this somatic experience. So I think mindfulness is great where you're being able to be present, but if you're mindful and then interpret what is happening incorrectly, I think that might jack you up. So I think there's a difference between mindfulness, awareness, and presence, and then interpretation, judgments of those awareness, value, or putting value on those judgments, or values on those somatic experiences. This application's simplicity in instructions, as well as the property of minimalizing distractions with no visual or audio stimuli during the exercise, are believed to be vital elements for its feasibility and the development of the ability of inner awareness. I think that's important. I think inner awareness is super important. It's just really like, okay, other piece is like, awareness is important, but maybe what's even more important than awareness is what you do with it. Like, okay, once you become aware of the thing, are you focusing on it? Are you letting it go? Is it distracting you? So awareness is good, but then what do you do with it? Design recommendations for improving awareness towards inner experiences include integration of a control mechanic for the process of breathing, such as holding alternative buttons when inhaling, exhaling, and a detailed breath visualization. If the aim is to manipulate the user's breath, then the design should also include a preview of the next change from inhale, exhale, or exhale to inhale. Assessment measures could include key breath requiring a unique user action. So not only is it important, but it's also important to have some type of input output. So I like that they're including the focus of the breath, like your cognitive experience of that, and then introducing the visual aspect of when you should be inhaling and exhaling. And then one more thing they're saying is if you actually had a tactile like thing to do. So you're integrating 3 senses just instead of 1, and they're all very present based. It's not like follow this and think about this. It's like breath, look at the thing to control your breath, tap the thing to respond to your breath. Very simple. I like it. All right. Again, these are all things for my app that are coming. TM. Okay, design. Okay, I'll put this green. Preview. There you go, right here. Perfect. And this is for Ryan for later, because he's going to create this app and it's going to be freaking amazing. And all my gamers are going to be mindful and present and beautiful. All right. 3.2, mindfulness factor. 2, awareness towards outer experience. So an inner experience, and now we're going outer. All right, awareness towards outer experience relates to the clear perception and experience of external stimuli. Being aware of birds chirping or the different shades of green of a forest, or people in chat, or the crowd, or your coach. I don't know, these external things, right? Studies on visual attention comparing non-gamers with gamers of first-person shooters found that gamers are aware of more visual details and can distinguish subtle visual stimuli more accurately. Or they have a raging case of ADHD. Exhibit A. All right. These games, in these studies, were predominantly using war scenarios like those of Call of Duty and Battlefield series. Dude, just think if they use freaking Fortnite. Oh, plah. And the test to measure the player's attentional skills included several versions of the useful field of view task, in which gamers identified more visual details in a clutter, and visual discrimination tests where gamers were able to distinguish more accurately between different shades of gray. Whoa, they're also millennials. Additionally, studies show that those gamers are able to track more independent moving visual objects simultaneously compared to non-gamers. Also, I wonder if this is coming down to practice, that that's what gamers do all day. They just like look for differences in their game and look for patterns and recognition, and they're just like practiced on that too. Not just like naturally, inherently they're better, but it comes down to practice, right? Okay. Okay, so let's see what they can do better. Gamers can do distinguish visual stimuli more accurately, identified more visual details in a clutter, distinguish more accurate shades of gray, track more, there you go. There you go. Evidence about the benefits from playing shooter games has been furthermore extended to auditory attention. Interesting. Okay. Shooters with auditory attention. Okay, I want to make sure that this is still running though. It doesn't keep dropping. Oh, we are freaking Gucci. Nice. We are Gucci. Okay. The administered tests were visual and auditory discrimination tasks in which gamers outperformed non-gamers. On a simultaneously judgment task, simultaneously? We'll work on it. Participants had to distinguish whether stimuli were presented simultaneous or slightly offset. Additionally, on temporal order judgment tasks, participants had to determine the temporal sequence of multi-sensory stimuli. In all the tasks, gamers showed higher performance compared to non-gamers. Therefore, it can be argued that playing shooter games increases the awareness towards outer experience by inducing a state of alertness and training attentional skills and multisensorial perception. Is it alertness or is it anxiety? I can't tell. It is believed that crucial for this process is the use of stimuli-rich virtual environments that provide very detailed presentation of the real world. The player's challenge to move and focus aim constantly requires fast information processing and reactions, which is believed to train awareness. I can see that. But I mean, I wonder from this perspective if the awareness comes from what's your face? I wonder if the awareness comes from the processing speed. Like, then it's a chicken and egg, maybe. Are you mindful? Are you able to become present? Sorry. Are you present because you're aware and you're able to process the information that's coming in? Because if you're unaware of the information coming in, how can you process it? Or are you more aware because you're able to process all the things that are coming in? Well, we got a chicken and an egg. Most traditional and popular practice of mindfulness includes sitting meditation. Do not target the awareness of outer stimuli and instead aim to train awareness towards inner experiences, self-awareness. Conceptual considerations and statistical evidence are suggesting that training inner awareness is associated with an increase in outer awareness as well. I can see that. Okay, which implies that targeting outer awareness for the purpose of cultivating mindfulness through an interactive program might not be required if inner awareness is practiced. Honestly, too, from my understanding, it's like I am trying to be aware of what is happening inside of me, and if I get distracted by external things, I'm able to acknowledge it and let it go. Like if I'm aware of my inner experience and I'm sitting down and meditating, I think the goal is to like acknowledge that there are external things happening, but my goal of mindfulness is to let that go, not focus on the birds chirping. Let the birds be there to chirp, but the purpose of my meditation practice is to be focused on what I want to be focused on, to let go of the external experience. Okay, practical recommendations for the design of programs aimed to improve awareness towards outer experience include the modeling of a realistic world with moving objects that challenge the perception, decision-making, and dexterity of users. Limited health and consequences for underperformance may be used to increase the user's sense of alertness and presence. Limited health and consequences. Oh yeah, this thing I'm also woke up too early. I get some lunch after this too, baby. I really wish I could play a game, but I feel it's too late. It would be too late, then we'll be able to eat. $20.40. Alright. Alright, let's check out this last one and then we'll see where we are. How's that? Alright. Mindfulness factor 3, openness to experience. This factor expresses a non-avoidant, confrontational attitude towards experiences that is characterized by openness and curiosity. Interesting. I like non-avoidant. Non-avoidant is good. People scoring high on this dimension try to perceive all the richness of stimuli in their environment and don't suppress their emotions or distract themselves, but deliberately direct their attention to all of them, including pain and other negative experiences. I like this. I like this because I think people don't I think it's important to mention that it all takes energy, right? Thinking a thought takes energy. Holding a thought at an arm's length takes energy. Not thinking about a thought takes energy. Or like actively trying to avoid and not think of that thought takes energy. So if you're able to embrace a thought and then redirect that energy or let it go, now you're not using any energy because you're no longer thinking about it versus I am actively trying to not to think about the thing, you know? It's kind of like I said, okay, think of a pink elephant. Thinking of the pink elephant takes energy. But now that then if I change it around and say, okay, whatever you do, stop don't think about the pink elephant, and you're like trying to actually not think about this pink elephant, that also takes energy. Okay, people scoring high on this dimension try to perceive. Oh yeah, I read that. Okay, it might sound paradoxical to look for games that increase openness to experience, since one motivation for its usage is escapism. Woo! But now we're getting back down to the purpose of the game, right? Because, I mean, if you're playing to escape, are you really being open versus you're trying to improve and then understand the game, you know? Alright. Openness to experiences. One motivation for its usage is escapism, thus a distraction from the real world. Okay, this is, however, only one of many motivations for playing digital games. On the other hand, it could be argued that people who are open to play various games and engage in various virtual worlds and experiences have a high openness to experience. Prior research indicates that people with high openness to experience tend to prefer games with a high level of exploration, such as role-playing games. That makes sense, I mean, because you're wandering everywhere, right? You are just wandering. I think I just want to see this if this is crashes. All right. You're just wandering. But at the same time, listen, I think it's also important to state that, like your diet, you should have a healthy balance of games. And what I mean by that is, like, I think it's important that you have your main game that you play or you're trying to compete in, trying to grow in. At the same time, you should have a for fun game that you can just, like, enjoy. You don't need to climb. You just be and have that experience. You could have, like, I don't know, healthier other games to play, but I think if you're able to vary your diet, quote unquote, of games, you probably have a longer longevity in the game that you're playing and actually enjoy it versus only playing one game. I mean, I think that's the same thing of, like, traditional sports and cross training, right? Like during basketball season, they might encourage you to play volleyball or whatever because you're moving your body differently and growing those muscles, or like paddling or something. So you're playing different sports, but they're all still helping you increase your athletic ability or maintain your physicality. In the same way, like, I'm sure there's transferable skills from if you play like League and then you also play like Valorant. It's a different game, but you're still cross training awareness, presence, all these things. It's just in a different context and maybe with different senses of pressure. All right. In the context of mindfulness, openness to experience refers to inner experiences like sensations and emotions. Interactive media that increases this trait should therefore aim to stimulate the user to try new things and cultivate an open mind towards all kinds of experiences, even seemingly unpleasant ones. If you can do this, like even the seemingly unpleasant emotions, and be open to them, then we can actually think about why it's unpleasant. Why it's unpleasant, what is happening, that's also really, really, really important. Because if you don't like it, then now we're just using judgment, which is like the opposite of openness. Because how often do you like try to do something, but then you're like, a friend or someone's like, that's the wrong way to do it. But has the same goal, it's just a different approach, you know? So if that's true, that means that person has low openness to experience. You may have higher openness to experience because they're just locked into that perspective. An openness to experience program might be a gamified app that poses its users daily challenges to do unusual things that they haven't done before. Like, for example, eating an olive together with a gummy bear or walking backwards for 10 minutes. I can see where they're going with this. I mean, if you do weird things or new things, like you're open to experience and stuff like that. I mean, also these things also are building cognitive flexibility. And cognitive flexibility is basically your ability to like cognitively bend or see things from a different perspective or interact with them in a different way. And if you're able to be cognitive flexible, you're less likely to be cognitive rigid, which makes it easier. Uh, I mean, if you're more cognitive rigid, it makes it harder for you to see things from different perspectives. And when things don't go your way or go against your structure, you might get more tilted because it's not supposed to work like this. Versus huh, this is happening. How can I use different strategies and be creative in my approach to make sure that I'm able to address the problem? Okay, at the same time, instructions should be given to keep an open mind and not avoidant mind while doing the task continuously. By completing task challenges, in-app rewards could be offered, e.g. stars could be earned and player stats increased and more challenges unlocked. The drawback of such game is the issue of preventing users from cheating by falsifying stating the challenges were completed. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's funny because they mentioned this is like, okay, if you actually want to practice mindfulness, but then like cheat the game that's aimed at increasing mindfulness, then you're basically just cheating yourself, right? Like if you just say I did it but you didn't do it, like did you learn at all? No. So what I like about what they're saying here is like, okay, is there ways for you to increase your cognitive flexibility or your openness to experience to see things from a different way or try things in a different way? So if you want to try this in game, the thing I'm thinking about is like make another account if you can and use that as your training account, your experimental test kitchen account per se, and do different things like a different build or approach the game differently or play different characters or try to do new strategies, because essentially what you're doing with openness to experience is you are just doing experiments to see did it work or not, and can you do things this way. That's all you're trying to do, because as soon as you get stuck in one type of play style or one type of perspective, you essentially are limiting your weapons that you're bringing to the fight, right? If you're own, I mean, you can be really efficient. I'm thinking about like taijutsu only for, you know, bushy brows in Naruto. But just think if you had taijutsu and you had genjutsu and then you had the signs and all that other stuff, you know, like you would have more weapons to bring to the fight versus if you only see things from a taijutsu perspective, that you're just gonna use fists, you know, or if it's a league example, like if you only come at it with a jungler perspective, you're going to only see it from that perspective, and you aren't able to see it from like an ADC perspective of what they want and how they can accomplish their goals. Versus if you see it from a lot of different perspectives, it gives you more ideas of how to play the game, and then you can take different observations or perspectives to play your game differently or better, or add on and be creative in your application of that strategy. But yeah, I like what they're saying here. Like, did you actually like, if you do this, are you cheating yourself, bro? I think that's funny. It's kind of like when you go like, oh, you know, like famous, right? You're a traditional sport coaches. Well, if you cheat yourself, if you don't do these push-ups, you're not cheating anyone else. You're cheating yourself. But it also comes down to the purpose of why you're doing these things, right? If I was another way to like talk about openness to change or whatever, the other word that I would use is we'd be like growth mindset versus fixed mindset, right? That's kind of like a direct application. Where in a growth mindset, you are seeing things in a different way. How could it be possible? Versus a fixed mindset, it must be this way. I'm only this much, you know? All right. An already available mobile application that uses this an approach similar to described above is Positive Activity Jackpot. Dude, is that where are all these apps, dog? They're talking about all these apps, but dude, where is it? It's not in America. Positive Activity Jackpot. Nope, not get gambling. Not get gambling. Okay, this is these apps are not in the US of A. Unlucky. Okay, designed as a slot machine, users choose a category and press a lever, which spins a wheel of fortune of activities. The resulting activity can be chosen or another spin can be made. After selecting an activity, the program asks the user where the activity should be done and if the user wants to invite friends to the activity. Finally, the app recommends that users schedule the activity in his/her personal calendar. Okay, I like this. I like the RGN of like, here's a new task for you to do and go do it. I mean, the other thing I'm thinking about is like in college, I think they had like this sociology class where they had to break social norms. So like, for example, someone would go through a door, instead of opening it for others, they'd slam it shut and then see what happens. Or like they would drink their water bottle, they would replace it with like a baby bottle and then see if people said anything to them, you know? And then what was the experiment of just lying down in the middle of the quad in front of everybody and see what happens? So through these experiments, it was kind of like showing them like sometimes people don't matter about like they don't take notice about what you're doing. And then B, what is it like for you to manage that like awkward, I'm breaking a social norm, and then what happens? So I think those small little experiments, those small little activities, or these small little opportunities to increase your openness, and then realize that it's not so bad. Because I think that's a huge factor in games where people think that if they failed or they lost, that it was a complete loss and they don't take anything from the experience. Or at the same time, because I lost, it's an experience that I should avoid and that's telling me that I did something wrong. But from a different perspective, when you think about science, like failure is built into the experience of science with no emotion. Like you're encouraged to fail because through the failure, all you need to do is set up a new experiment or try again. And although sometimes junk and irritating, it is really, really important just to try again. So normalize failing. Remember, C's get degrees. Because you really think about it too, if you kept succeeding and you had no idea why you're succeeding, as soon as you hit failure, it's going to be cataclysmic versus like, okay, dude, I failed a lot to get here. I know that I did the science to get here. Thus, I have a lot of confidence. So if I fail again, it's no big deal because like I failed before, bro. I failed before. It's no big deal. I lived. That's good. No one died. All right, the positivity activity jackpot uses the pleasant event schedule technique that helps people with mental illness, such as depression, by reinforcing positive behavior. Users, however, are also allowed to deactivate the individual activities from the list and add their own activities. Additionally, the application provides an augmented reality AR mode that lets the user hold the device like a camera and shows possible positive activities and places in the near environment. The positive activity jackpot is believed to be a promising candidate to increase its mindfulness factor. However, activities should be selected that improve the openness to experience instead the outer experience that are likely to be used as a distraction from internal discomfort. Again, the purpose is the purpose. So it's how you use it. It's not exactly that the app is there. So it's almost like there's mindfulness built into the mindfulness, you know? The beneficial key mechanic of this app is encouraging users to perform novel tasks for introspective awareness in a playful way. Absolutely. Openness to experience might be well suited to be combined with awareness towards inner experience. By using a proven program that increases the skill of introspective awareness, it could be extended to improve the attitude of openness as well. Game elements to achieve this goal might include priming instructions and rewards for spotting and enduring experiential states. In addition to that, opportunities to collect in-game rewards by doing daily challenges will encourage some users to engage for longer with the game. Design implications for improving openness to experience comprise of gamifying activities that stimulate inner exploration. The use of gambling elements such as Wheel of Fortune or a slot machine, intriguing sound effects, and tactile stimuli enhance the motivation to use these. Alright, so now we're introducing gambling into openness to experience. And I don't know if that's a great one, but I can see where they're going with it. I can definitely see where they're going with it. So, what I'm thinking though, like literally with this openness to experience is a willingness to try. I think that's like one of the most important things, either working with a coach, psychologist, whatever, teacher, is are you willing to try something different? You know, I think also, you know, from a different perspective with like couples therapy or like when people fight in a team, it's like, all right, are you also willing and open to see this person's perspective? And then are you also willing and open to try something different? Because listen, if we keep talking or behaving or interacting in the way that we're doing, it's not going to go well. So oftentimes when working with teams or individuals, it's really interesting to see where they get stuck. And then what are they willing or open to do to change the situation? Because if they say, I'm not willing to do anything, or I still want to do this technique, it's kind of like, okay, well, if you keep doing this thing or going this way, this is what you're going to get. And all right, my goal is then to put down pillows, because when it inevitably fails or you guys get into another fight, this is what's going to happen. But also, what do you want to do differently? And hopefully they don't say anything that's like avoidant, like, well, I just don't want to talk to that person, or I just won't play anymore, right? Like, sure, you could do that, but does that actually help the openness to change and then you doing something different to get a different result? Dang, I really want to play a game, but I don't think I'll have time to do it. So let's just go through one more, shall we? Let's see where we're at. Yeah, let's go through one more. Last one, and then we'll kind of end the stream. Last one, last one. All right. I'm so upset. I really want my Discord back. It's so hard. I didn't realize how much I use Discord until, like, it's gone. You know what I mean? Rough. Rough, rough, rough. All right, last one. Okay. 3.4, mindfulness factor 4, decentering. Decentering refers to the ability. Ooh, we love a good what's your face. We love a good definition. Decentering refers to the ability to experience non-reactivity. For example, not trying to control an emotion or trying to engage in cognition. Okay. Thoughts, emotions, or sensations are perceived as detached. Ooh. They are just experiences. It's not of me. They're here, and I am seeing them and experiencing them. I like it. Chitaro and Vanillo have developed an app called Aeon to train decentering or thought distancing. This all ACT, man. Like, if you're a therapist or if you are going to therapy, we're talking about ACT therapy, acceptance commitment therapy, detaching, decentering, cognitive flexibility. This all seems like ACT. Users are asked to formulate a type of worrisome thought into the program, which is then displayed on a neutral background. By touching and swiping the screen, ripples on the water above the thought are animated, accompanied by water sounds. The longer a user swipes the screen, the more the visualized thoughts fade away. By watching the thought disappear, the author suggests that thought distancing and mindfulness is practiced. That's really interesting. I mean, okay, so another meditation that visualize this is like, or thought distancing, or thought distancing, or what do they call it? Or decentering would be like thinking also like, my brain is thinking this, not I'm thinking this, or my brain is thinking about this. So if you can externalize that thought, that it's not of you, it's your brain, it's easier. Singing it is also a fun, weird way to like decenter it, because it's not, if you sing it, it sounds funny. It sounds like a song, and it doesn't sound like your thought, So if you can put some space between your thoughts, it also helps you see them more objectively. But I like this. I mean, this swiping thing. It was tested on 22 undergraduate students, where the interactive application has been compared to other non-digital practices of thought distancing. The first control group task was a mental cloud imagery task, in which participants were asked to imagine their thoughts on a flying cloud, distant, and mentally observe how they fly away. So you take a thought, you think about it, and whoop. In the second control conditions, participants were asked to perform a card tossing exercise, which instructs participants to write down their thought on index cards and then look at them one time and toss them into a basket. Measured by the 7-item decentering subscale of the Toronto Mindfulness Scale, Aeon achieved significantly higher scores compared to the card tossing, but not to the cloud imagery exercise. Dude, I don't know. It reminds me of like when I was in 7th grade, they had this like workshop on like bullying, and people like, I reject your rejection. Like they'd make silly, like, you're a pizza eater, and like, I reject your rejection. It's kind of the same thing. You tear their card, same kind of thing. But it's really interesting that writing them down and putting in a basket was less effective than actually watching them float away. But either one of these techniques, their whole purpose is to get this thought out of your mind and then watch them float away. And then get it out of you to decenter from yourself. You know what I mean? The author explains this result by suggesting that Aeon is better than card tossing's task to sustain attention on the thoughts and work on their perception instead of the processing of throwing them away. Ooh, perception instead of the action. Okay. Attention, however, was not measured in the study. The non-significant difference between Aeon and the cloud imagery exercise might be due to the similar nature of both applications. The difficulty was perceived lowest for the interactive smartphone app, which the authors attributed to the computational offloading by the app, thus decreasing cognitive load by externalizing the mental process of keeping in mind a particular thought. Thought distancing apps similar to Aeon use different metaphors, while Aeon visualizes thoughts and lets them slowly disappear in the water. Other apps shed negative experience or shoot them with a rocket into the universe. But basically all this thing is getting your thought out of your head and then watching them disappear. And then feeling like you controlled it, you know? It's cool. Okay, mobile applications like Aeon might be feasible approach to increase decentering. Recommendations for HCI and mindfulness are deductions from its functional design. The mechanic of Aeon app in entering a troubling thought, and then watching it how it disappears has been found to be effective in the initiative evaluation study. However, its dynamics and aesthetics might play an important role as well, since the time watching a troubled thought slowly disappear is controlled by the user's swiping speed. The control, ooh, I like that. So maybe it's a swiping speed and having you be able to do it is the key. The control and with the association of the context of the self by thought and the representation of the slowly fading text, and are believed to enhance the process of decentering. I like it. Okay, this is the the all right, so let's oh, I did this last time. So let's do this. Like we did last time. Okay. Copy. Pesto. Can I paste here? Oh, that's because I froze. Why did I paste and copy it? Copy. Paste. Perfecto. All right, so now let's set up the ranty. Okay. What I think is really cool about this article, and I think some takeaways from today, is some of these things. What I think is really cool too is that they're trying to describe how to make this app, you know, and how mindfulness can help you. But I think it's one. Let's use the purple. Okay, one. I think it's the mindfulness really helps. Yo, Pappy, what's good, baby? I'm doing well, except I don't have my Discord still. I'm still fighting Discord. So if you know anyone at Discord support, baby, help me out. I am about to choke somebody, or I'm just gonna say new Discord. But hey, wanna know a funny story? I tried to create a new Discord, and it's attached to my old Discord phone number, so I wasn't able to get my old. I wasn't able to even use my Discord, my new one. So that's fun. But yay! I hope you're doing well too, man. I hope you're doing well too. Our boys be crushing. Okay, so I think with this article, number one, it's the increase of the inner experience. Increase Can you send me a ticket number on Twitter? Oh, hell yeah. I got you, baby. Oh my god. Yes, I'll do it right after this. Please. I got you. So mindfulness I really like about this is like it increases your awareness of the inner experience. But okay. I guess maybe and decrease distraction of outer experience. What I mean by that is like, all right, when you're practicing mindfulness, the goal is to be aware of what's happening in your mind and of your body. And once you're aware of it, now you can either let it go, you can accept it, but the danger zone is the negative interpretation. Because if you're aware of this, if you're aware of the internal experience, like I said earlier, like, man, I feel myself shaking, I feel myself thinking about the crowd, I'm thinking about all these things that are happening in the game. As soon as you become aware of it, that's fine. But if you negatively interpret it and you now put values on it or you put judgments on it, now it becomes a distracting thing. First is being able to acknowledge it and then let it go, or acknowledging it and then refocusing on the things that you want to. So I think instead of just accepting it or like hardcore thinking about it, it's just awareness and being present and knowing that it's there. I think that's the most important thing, first and foremost, because it's great to have awareness. And I think like once you have it, the question is, what do you do with it? And also from another study that we talked about, it's all I really liked how that author phrased like how rumination is just anxious thinking, or rumination is anxious thinking, and it's actually autopilot, especially if you're an anxious person, because if you're just thinking and being anxious, how conscious are you of the thing you're thinking about, and how conscious are you of of how it's actually affecting you? So if you're able to be aware of the thoughts, the feelings. Okay, now what do you do with it? Super, super duper important. Okay, is there number two? Okay. And then I think from this, if you really want to increase your mindfulness or whatever, I really do think the whole purpose of mindfulness is cognitive flexibility. I think for gamers, cognitive flexibility is one of the most important skills that you can have, because it also helps you be creative. It helps you be able to try. It helps you be able to employ your tactics. I think sometimes I think when people have like really rigid strategies, it prevents them from actually making adaptations, the tactics in the game. So if you're able to be mindful of what you're doing, the reasons why you're doing it, and then also be mindful of like why other people are doing their things too, or being willing to try new things, that increases your openness to awareness. It increases the cognitive flexibility that you're able to see things from, and you're able to do different things, or at least interpret different things from a different perspective. This is also including, this also decreases judgment, which is amazing. And what I mean by that is like, if you're able to be open from a lot of different perspectives, you take away the goodness or badness of what had happened or what you did. Because as soon as you say, oh, that was good, that was bad, now you have injected your judgment into the thing, and that judgment may distract you from actually doing the science of what happened in this experiment. So if you can be more open, you can try new things and see things from different perspectives, and then be kinder to yourself, and then do the science to move on versus getting stuck in the emotions. All right, that's where I think I'll leave it, because I gotta eat something before our next meeting. But yeah, next week or maybe later on or whatever, I'll try to finish this article. I think it's really good. And we'll keep pushing. All right, friends. Well, thanks so much for coming and hanging out, and learning a little bit more about mindfulness and how you can apply it to your gaming, and learning about the apps that don't exist in the US. Nice. But it's good ideas for me if I wanted to create this app, which I do. So, Poppy, if you know anyone that creates apps, you let me know. But shout out to Poppy, and shout out to Iqueer for the follow. Next week, Monday, I'll be back at 12 p.m. PST to finish this article, maybe play some games, hopefully, and yeah, talk some more stories. But Poppy, be on the lookout for my Discord message, or my Twitter message, to hopefully get my Discord back, and we'll see. But thanks for coming. Remember, strong meant to win. So if you want to learn more about me and what I do, please send me a message on Twitter as the Psych Sensei, or you can go to my website psychsensei.com and send me a consultation message so you and I can get together. Yeah. All right, friends. Be safe. Have a nice weekend. And I'll see you when I see you. Peace. Bye. Oh, God. Oh, God.